teams below them are better than expected. And maybe this team's worse or better than expected. It's difficult to say because, even though the teams I think this year are doing a pretty good job building their rosters, you can never really know. You don't even know what game you're playing at the moment or what the mechanics are going to be to even make some of these decisions at times. Doug Lieb also comes out with his analysis on Capsidal as a player, just looking at this previous season. Well, I'm guessing it's this previous season, but he's got the Boston logo, so I'm not exactly sure if this is from the Vanguard year or from the most recent year where he was on Florida, but nonetheless, you can see that in terms of similar players, he's very similar to Nero in many respects, and Nero's the type of guy that I think Boston, if the relationship with Nero wasn't broken, which it was at the end of last season because they kept dropping all their players. There was some drama because they hadn't paid Nero to come along. Even though he was playing in challenges, they hadn't paid for any of his flights or hotel or anything for him to go to the Toronto event. So he wasn't happy about that. The relationship was breaking down and they weren't going to be bringing Nero back. But I think they did kind of need a player like Nero, and he was rather good, I thought, for Boston last season. And Capsidal is very similar, probably the most similar player to Nero in the league, you could argue. And, I think that's why they're making the decision that they have done. So that's your team of 4. Definitely will be a bit of a controversial one, but I think of all the players that were on the market here, they've probably done their best job. They've got a good mix of veteran experience and young upside talent, but I think they're going to have to be a bit patient here, and I wouldn't expect them to come out swinging the first event of the season, and Slasher in general is a player that tends to get better as the season goes on anyway, so I think you're more talking Major 3, Major 4, Major 5 for this team. I think they can be a real potential threat, but they're going to need to see some progress early on in the season to believe that that will be the case. So we now have the official confirmation of breach. So we know 3 teams so far, and there are 7 teams. We have a good idea what they're doing at this point. So FaZe Ultra, that's been confirmed. Boston have now confirmed as well. OpTic is probably coming this evening, and we'll do a video on that. Subliners you'd expect is coming relatively soon as well. And then we have the other 2 rumored teams, of which we have no confirmations yet. Rokkr and the Los Angeles Thieves. And just because these were the rumored teams does not mean that's going to stay the same way, because we've seen plenty of times this rostermania, rumored teams arrive and then changes happen. Even in the early days, there were rumors that Thieves was going to be Kenny, Insight, CleanX, and Pred. That was going around for a couple of days because people thought, well, Ultra's selling their guys, Pred's gettable, Kenny's obviously going to stay, Octane's going to retire, and that was the rumor at the time. Of course, things have changed a lot since those days. Now, some revelations have come out about Thieves, but I did want to mention this from Zuma. Now, Zuma's hit rate this rostermania isn't great, but still, when Zuma says something, you gotta listen to it. And he mentions, he runs through the Boston team, the Rokkr team, the Thieves team, and there's a bit of a debate there, of those rosters, who should theoretically be the 4th best, or the 5th best team, behind FaZe, Ultra, Subliners, OpTic, which pretty much everyone has in their top 4 in some order or another. But Zuma says that from what he's heard, Thieves might not necessarily be doing what we think they're doing.
Afro, Dan Ghosty, JoeDeceives, and Cammy. I'm hearing something else, but, that's besides the point. Minnesota Rokkr, Big Wake, Vivid, Seattle, and Lynz. I mean...
So does Zuma actually know what he's talking about here? I think it's an interesting conversation to have. We know that during the Subliners drama, Zuma was of the opinion that, or one of his sources told him, that Priestahh back to New York was a possibility, and it wasn't yet a done deal that Priestahh was going to be gone. But most people were saying, well, I think he is gone, and it turns out that he was, and Zuma was like, damn, this guy really said that, and then it didn't come through. So, look, I don't know, but still, it's at least worthy of merit, and to be fair, this does make a bit of sense. I think that Thieves potentially can do better than that roster of 4 that was rumoured. But, I don't know what you guys think in the comment section below. This is that team of 4. Ghosty, Cammy, Afro, JoeDeceives. Of the teams that are currently rumoured, I would say this is 6th best. I think this team would be better than the Minnesota Rokkr team, but I don't think they would be good as the Boston team. I kind of like it, but as I said at the time, I think there's an option there. I think there's questions around whether Cammy and Ghosty is actually going to work as a long-term AR duo, and if there's options like aBeZy on the market, you might want to think about it, is kind of what I said at the time. Now, Afro, I think it's for sure going to be here, because if Afro wasn't here, then I'm pretty sure he would be already gone to some other team, right? Either he'd be rumored to be going to the Rokkr team back there again, although they might not want to, or he'd have gone to Boston. So I think that's just where he's going to be. Ghosty, I'm pretty sure they'll go for as well, because I can't really see a reason why you wouldn't get Ghosty if he's willing to join and with the upside that he has. JoeDeceives, though, they also might look to change around. So if Thieves have made another change here, or at least this was their rumored team, and now over the coming days they've talked about it a bit more, because Parasite, let's be honest, came out and said he doesn't think this team's going to work. Jacob then said, Haggy, you know, what are you talking about this for? And all they said a bit of back and forth we saw a couple of days ago. But and Parasite was like, yeah, I could build a better roster in my sleep. These guys won't work together. And Jacob was seemingly defending their roster decisions, but maybe they've made a different decision. Maybe one of these players has another offer now, and they don't necessarily have to be in a massive rush. Players like Afro, players like Ghosty, that are in, clearly, you know, they're going to be in high demand, you would think, of all the players left, but frankly, there aren't many teams to demand them left out there, right? And if you're Ghosty or Afro, I think Thieves would be your preferred option rather than maybe a Surge, maybe a Los Angeles Guerrillas, and that's pretty much all the options you got left on the table that are reasonable options. So Thieves don't have to rush here. The top teams every season that are forming the theoretical best rosters, as Thieves have done in the past, have to rush. They've got to lock in the top players quickly. But Thieves can bide their time here and say, well, you know, we're just going to take it patient and just see what happens on the market, see if players are available, and maybe make a change. So intrigued to your thoughts though on what you would do if you had to look at this team before and make one or two changes pre-season. What would it be? But we are expecting another announcement tonight, and that is probably going to come from OpTic Texas. There was also, this is funny, so Odell Beckham Jr. tweets this out, walking that fine line between gratitude and I want this bad AF. Day by day, brick by brick, he says. Right, so the brick by brick thing, and Cronin replies like, OBJ to OpTic confirms. The only OBJ I know, or my goat OBJ, is Nadeshot from Call of Duty Ghosts. But, you know, and then Dante Civ, as he always does, retweets this, right? So people are like, oh, OpTic Civ, here we go, baby. And I just thought it was pretty entertaining, to be fair. But one actual, maybe you can look at this as a leak, maybe you don't want to, but I'm pretty sure that we can figure out what's going on here. So yesterday, Shotzzy and the OpTic guys came out with this, like, anyway, so some Wingstop thing, and we can see Shotzzy is wearing a rather specific shirt in this video, and you guys might know where I'm going with this already if you watched yesterday's video, but, and I thought this is a shirt that Dashy had, but I think I've got it the other way around, because we can see in this one that we've got Shotzzy wearing this shirt that I would probably describe as olive color. Don't know why I've said olive, but, you know, I think it's olive. Maybe, okay, you could say brown, it's a little bit green, I'd say it's olive, and then you've got this, like, white, slightly off-white shirt here that Dashy's wearing. And if we go back to this image that we saw in the process video, we can maybe find, if you want to look into it, that the man on the left has maybe a bit of an olive shirt going on his sleeve, and then we have a bit of a white off-white shirt on the right-hand side, and we could say that maybe this is going to be Shotzzy, this is going to be Dashy, and actually looking at their respective heights, you can probably figure out that this is Shotzzy, this is Dashy. So I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. I imagine that OpTic did a content day, and they had them do the Wingstop stuff, and they also had them sit down here to prepare for the process, and they were wearing the same shirt. So I think we might have put that one to bed, but we'll see. That's just my theory as it stands, but it's going to be today. The process is going to air later on today, and presumably at the end of the episode, we are going to get some sort of confirmation as to what the OpTic roster is going to be. But very much intrigued to hear your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.